Good morning, builders. How's it going today? Bright and sunny Monday, hopefully, at least wherever you are. Just make sure everything's good up on the stream. We are rocking. Right on. Yeah, it's decently warm here. It's better than normal. But Monday morning is always hard to kind of get the ball rolling. Well, I feel like I'm pushing the boulder uphill today, mainly because it is Canadian federal budget week. Now, thankfully, I'm no longer with the Federal Public Service, and this does not mean that I am running around with my head chopped off like I used to. Now, I had a great time in the public service. Don't take that comment the wrong way. I spent a decade working there on cybersecurity, on forensic investigation, on policy, on a whole manner of stuff, and I really enjoyed it and I learned a ton. But budget week is always crazy stressful. Lots of stuff happening, lots of things moving around. Now that I'm on the outside, it's a little more relaxing, or at least it's supposed to be. Except last week, CBC dropped an article that said up to $1 billion could be spent on the Canadian federal budget on cybersecurity this year, or at least in this budget promised out. So how many years that's over remains to be seen, and on what it's being spent. So I started, wheels started turning, because setting policy in a company is one thing, and we all know how hard that can be to set a policy within your company to encourage people to make positive cybersecurity decisions. On a national level is a whole nother thing. It's completely a different ballpark that you're dealing with, and it's really fascinating. And so I was diving into that this weekend. I'll be diving into that today as well. Hoping to write up my thoughts into something a little more compact and really kind of put forward an opinion on where we should be going as a nation, which sounds really egotistical and grandiose, but I think it's important for the issues like to have as many perspectives as possible. Now, Canada has a national cybersecurity strategy that was done in 2010, and it really had three major pillars, and that was essentially, let's secure the government of Canada and its assets. Let's work with partners in the industry to secure critical assets within Canada. So things like our telecom networks, our city infrastructures, power grids, this kind of stuff. And then let's make some concerted efforts to make Canadians safer online. So the end result of that is the fantastic Get Cyber Safe program. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll link to that below. Really just tips and tricks on how to make smarter decisions as a digital citizen, right? So these are really good things. But 2010, it needs to be, there was a report issued I think mid last year about the efficacy of this strategy, and there's some things that really need to be fixed, some working groups, some committees that need to be adjusted, some ways to implement this strategy that need to change. Now the strategy itself is pretty sound. It makes sense. Secure GOC, like secure the government assets, work with partners to secure the rest of the stuff, and let's educate Canadians. I don't think that needs to change. I think what needs to change is how we're working with partners and how we're building a community of cybersecurity expertise within Canada. And I think there's a part for private sector, there's a part for public, there's a part for academia, and there's a part for just general contributions from the citizenry, right? We've got a lot of talented Canadians. Let's take advantage of that. So there's some interesting stuff going on there. But one of the biggest issues, I think, and we've seen this unfortunately in some bad examples in the public eye, like the Phoenix Pay system, is that one of the key things for cybersecurity is really just strong IT solution delivery. You need to build security into the fabric of everything, because my concern when I saw that $1 billion number in the budget, and that's based on requests from government agencies saying we need this money to secure our systems, is that that's all just going to perimeter defense. That's all going to Band-Aid solutions, $1 billion worth of Band-Aids, and that's really concerning. Now, that may not be the case, and I hope that I am wrong, but I think realistically that's probably what's going to end up happening. And that's generally a bad thing, because that's just a stopgap measure. We need to really address the core issue, and that's really building strong, high-quality IT systems, and whether that's through contracting outside, whether that's internally, whether that's a collaborative community effort, whether that's active in the open source community. There's any number of ways of going about this, but security does not happen just by bolting it on. If all you're doing is building perimeter, and this applies equally to a country as it does to the organization, as it does to yourself, if you're just bolting security on, that's really a stopgap measure. It's going to maybe, at best case, if really well executed, maybe get 60% of the threats. You're far better off spending resources, focusing your time and efforts on building stronger programs to build better stuff in the first place, right? IT security solutions that get bolted on, and that's people, process, and things. It's all three. You can't just have one. When they're bolted on like that, you're at best kind of plugging a leaky boat or I'll take my Dutch reference, and you've got your thumb in the dam trying to break or trying to make sure that the fields aren't flooded out. Realistically, cybersecurity ends up being three things. I've mentioned it a little earlier. I'll go over it in detail right now. It's people, it's process, and it's product. And whether that product is commercial or open source, whatever. Three Ps is better than PPT for tech. So people are the core of it. People are the ones who are conducting business. The people are the ones who are handling information. They need to be educated. They need to be able to make information. They need to be able to make decisions in context with the right information. Process is there to help people make those decisions. It's there to make sure that you're regularly putting your information in the right risk context. So that you're not needlessly publishing things that don't need to be public, that you're not needlessly classifying things that don't need to be classified. So process is important to help people, and the product, the technology, amplifies that process and those people. And really all three need to be working. If you overinvest in one, and that's what I'm afraid this is an overinvestment purely in product, the other two suffer and you don't really have security. It's, to take a colloquial or a more relatable thing is if you're going to the gym and all you're ever doing is chest and arms, right? You see those the gym monkeys who just huge biceps and huge pecs, and they're just monsters, right? But they're not very functional. Whereas, you looked at the Olympics the last couple of weeks, all sorts of different body types. You need, all these lean, strong muscle to be a really powerful athlete as opposed to just a couple muscle groups. So the same thing with cybersecurity. You need people, you need process, and you need products all working in unison to truly be secure. So that's a big way to start the week. That's probably way too much to be thinking about. I should have picked something simpler like, hey, we really need to make sure that passwords are in a password manager rather than cybersecurity at a nation level, at a nation scale. But it's budget week, so what can you do? I think a lot of Canadians are going to be talking about this, and hopefully it generates discussion in the community, online here. I'm at Mark NCA. Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on LinkedIn, Facebook. I think this is a discussion that's equally applicable. It's interesting at the nation state level, but bringing it down to the organizational level, I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. I hope you are having a lighter Monday than I am, but always willing to engage and chat, and I will talk to you tomorrow.